So next is the bone names. So first is the ilium. So it forms the superior part of the acetabulum or the acetabular roof, and immediately above the acetabulum, the ilium expands to form the wing or ala, and the ilium serves a weight-bearing function and is part of the structure that ensures the spine, and it is supported when the body is upright. Next is the acetabulum. So it is the cup-shaped socket on the lateral aspect of the pelvis, which articulates with the head of the femur to form the hip joint. So, um, the acetabulum is a cup-like socket formed by the connection of the three bones that make up our hip. So this socket meets with the femoral head of the femur bone to form the hip joint, and together these two parts of anatomy allows us to walk, run, and move freely. Next is the pubic symphysis. It is a secondary cartilaginous joint between the left and right superior rami of the pubis of the hip bones. The main motions of the symphysis pubis are superior or inferior glide and separation or compression. So the functions of the joint are to absorb shock during walking and allow delivery of a baby. So next is the pubis. And next is the ischium. One of the three bones that form the pelvis, and the upper portion of this bone forms a major part of the concave portion of the pelvis that forms the hip. As part of the hip joint, this bone plays a very important role in leg mobility, balance, standing up, and lifting tasks, among others. Next is the lesser trochanter. So it projects from the lower and back part of the base of the neck, and it receives the insertion of several muscles. Next is the um, patella, and next is the medial condyle. So it is the medial or inner portion of the upper extremity of tibia, and it is the site of insertion for the semimembranosus muscle. Next is the tibial tuberosity. So the tuberosity of the tibia or tibial tuberosity or tubercle is an elevation on the proximal anterior aspect of the tibia, just below where the anterior surfaces of the lateral and medial tibial condyles end. And it acts as a lever to extend the knee joint and prevents the knee from collapsing when the foot strikes the ground. So next is the tibia and fibula. So tibia and fibula are the two long bones located in the lower leg. So the tibia is in the larger bone on the inside, and the fibula is a smaller bone on the outside. The tibia is much thicker than the fibula, and it is the main weight-bearing bone of the two. Fibula is so the function of fibula is to combine with the tibia and provide stability to the ankle joint. So next is the medial malleolus. So medial malleolus felt on the inside of your ankle and is part of the tibia's base. So it forms the support for the inner side of the ankle joint. Next is the lateral malleolus, and it is felt on the outside of your ankle, and it is the low end of the fibula. And it is also responsible for resistance against inversion and internal rotation stress. Next is the calcaneus. It is a roughly rectangular prism-shaped bone located inferior to the talus and posterior to the midfoot. The calcaneus is the bone that forms the heel of the foot. Next is the tarsals, and they are located proximally in the foot in the ankle area, and the tarsal bones are seven in number. They are named the calcaneus, talus, cuboid, navicular, and the medial, middle, and lateral cuneiforms. So it is a shape well adapted for carrying and transferring weight in bipedal locomotion. So next is metatarsals. So metatarsals bones are the bones of the forefoot that connect the distal aspects of the cuneiform. bones and cuboid bone to the base of the five phalanges of the foot. It helps form longitudinal arcs along the inner and outer sides of the foot and a transverse arc at the ball of the foot. Next is the phalanges, are comprised of the proximal, middle, and distal groups. The proximal bones are located just below the knuckle, while the middle bones are located above the knuckle. The bones of the foot provide mechanical support for the soft tissues, helping the foot withstand the weight of the body while standing in and in motion. Next is the sacroiliac joint. So it links on your pelvis and lower spine. This joint transfers weight and forces between your upper body and legs. It is an essential component for energy transfer between the legs and the torso. Next is the neck of femur. So it is located at the upper portion of our femur, just below the ball part or the femoral head. It allows for an increased range of movement at the hip joint. Next is the greater trochanter, and it is located on the proximal and lateral side of the femur, just distal to the hip joint and neck of the femur. It is the attachment to a number of muscles. And lastly is the femur and lastly is the femur and also called thigh bone, upper bone of the leg or hind leg. The femur is the longest, heaviest, and strongest bone in the human body. So the main function of the femur is weight bearing and stability of gait.